The blackout swallowed Michael's small apartment hole that night, the rain hammering the zinc roof like accusations he couldn't answer. He sat alone on the thin mattress, the only light coming from his phone screen glowing on an old photo. Emma in her wedding gown, head thrown back laughing. Michael beside her, arm around her waist, eyes full of a promise he broke long ago. He stared until the image blurred with tears. "I was supposed to be better than my father," he whispered to the dark room. His voice cracked on the memory. Age 8. Standing in the doorway watching his dad pack a single suitcase. Not even looking back, as he left his mother crying on the kitchen floor. Michael had sworn then he would never abandon anyone, never make anyone feel that small. Yet here he was, having done exactly that, twice. He dropped the phone, buried his face in his hands, and let the sobs come muggly, childlike, uncontrollable. The thunder outside rolled like judgment. The man who once commanded boardrooms now felt like a boy again, lost and terrified of being seen as weak. That fear had driven every bad choice, the affair, the divorce, the arrogance. He had chased validation to fill the hole his father left, and in doing so, he had carved bigger holes in the women who loved him. Across the city in her parents' modest home, Olivia curled on her childhood bed, the same one she'd dreamed of escaping years ago. Her mother stood in the doorway, arms crossed, voice low but sharp. "You traded your self-respect for a man who couldn't even stand by you when the money dried up." Olivia's chest tightened, breath coming in short gasps. She bolted to the bathroom, slid down the door, and let the panic take over. Flashbacks crashed in, her father's cold disapproval growing up. Every achievement measured by how pretty she looked, how well she charmed, the message drilled in early love, is earned. Security is stolen, never show weakness. She had learned to seduce her way to safety, never realizing she was running from the same emptiness her mother carried. Olivia pressed her palms to her eyes. "I hated myself more than I hated her," she choked out to the empty tiles. "And I made Emma pay for it." The next morning, she forced herself to a small therapy office near Computer Village. The counselor listened quietly as Olivia unraveled. "I thought if I won him, I won everything. But I just kept losing me." Tears fell freely now. No performance, no mask. The counselor gave her one task. Write the letter you wish you'd never needed to write. Olivia chose Emma. She recorded it as a voice note, instead shaky, unscripted, raw. "I never hated you. I hated the mirror you held up. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, for the family I helped break, for the woman I became. I'm trying to find who I was before all this." She hit send at 2 a.m., then turned her phone off. Heart pounding with terror and a strange relief, Emma's own therapy sessions were quieter, but no less brutal. She sat in a sunlit room overlooking the chaos of Lagos traffic. Horns and hawkers filtering through the window like background music to her pain. "The revenge gave me power," she told the therapist, voice steady until it wasn't. "But the silence after terrified me more than the betrayal." She cried for the version of Michael she'd loved, the one who brought her jollof from street vendors at midnight, who planned Sunday drives to Tarkwa Bay, who once held her like she was the only thing that mattered. She mourned the love that had been real before ambition poisoned it. "Forgiving him freed me," she whispered, "but forgiving myself for staying. That's the hardest part." Time moved in small, hesitant steps. Michael volunteered more at the charity knot for optics. But because stacking food packs and listening to people's stories quieted the noise in his head, one rainy Saturday, his children, Aid and Zara, showed up unannounced. They stood awkwardly in his doorway, rain dripping from their hoods. "We need to talk," Aid said, voice firm but trembling. They sat on the tiny balcony as thunder rumbled. Michael listened as they laid bare years of hurt, missed birthdays, broken promises. The way his choices taught them, love could vanish overnight. He didn't interrupt, didn't defend, just nodded, tears streaming. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I modeled the worst kind of man for you both. I'm trying to change, not to erase the past, but because you deserve a father who shows up now." Zara reached for his hand first, then Aid joined. The hug was awkward, tear-soaked. But it was real, the first real connection in years. Olivia's voice note arrived in Emma's inbox on a quiet evening. She listened alone in her apartment, city lights flickering outside, tears tracing silent paths down her cheeks. The words weren't perfect, but they were honest to women wounded by the same man, recognizing the shared pain. Women hurting women because men never learned to love without taking. She didn't reply that night. Instead, she focused on her foundation: workshops teaching financial independence, group therapy circles for divorced women, small grants for new starts. Her first major event was approaching a garden mixer in Victoria Island. Michael showed up that evening as a volunteer, head down, serving drinks with quiet humility. When their eyes met across the lawn, there was no explosion, just a long, steady look. He walked over slowly. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said softly. "I just needed to say thank you for showing me what real strength looks like." Emma studied the man in front of her, older, quieter, humbled. "You've started looking inside," she replied. "That's more than most ever do." They spoke briefly, no accusations, just honest words about pain, growth, and the long road ahead. Olivia wasn't there, but her voice note lingered like an unfinished bridge. Months later, the small victories began to stack. Olivia's anonymous blog From Shadows to Light crossed 100,000 followers, raw. Its unfiltered posts about regret, therapy, healing from being the other woman. Women messaged her daily. "Your words gave me courage to leave," she cried, reading them, feeling for the first time purpose instead of shame. Emma met Chidi, the architect, at one of her workshops. He was gentle, steady, saw her strength without needing to compete. Their first date was simple: a quiet cafe in Lekki, jollof rice steaming between them, rain tapping the windows. They talked for hours about dreams, scars, second chances. She laughed real, unforced laughter for the first time in too long. Michael took on a small mentoring role with young entrepreneurs, teaching them the cost of arrogance, of chasing validation over integrity. His children visited more often, the family stitching itself back together, thread by thread, as the year turned. Emma stood on her balcony once more, Lagos humming below her. The scars were still there, deep, visible, but they no longer bled. They had shaped her, taught her, reminded her she survived. She whispered to the night sky, "We all carry wounds. But wounds prove we lived. And sometimes they guide us back to who we were always meant to be." In that quiet truth, millions watching found their own hope, crying, healing, believing again. Because the story had never been just about betrayal. It was about what comes after, the brave, aching, beautiful road to becoming whole once more. 6 months after the tears dried, Lagos felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just kinder to those who had survived it. The city still roared with Danfo horns and hawkers calling pure water, from dawn until long after dusk, but for Emma, the noise had softened into a familiar rhythm rather than a reminder of loss. She stood on her balcony once more, the same one where she had once whispered to the night sky about scars and survival. Tonight the city lights glittered below like scattered diamonds on black velvet. The lagoon breeze carrying the faint salt of the Atlantic and the distant smell of grilled suya from street vendors. Chidi's hand rested gently in hers, warm, steady, unhurried. He didn't speak much. He never needed to. He simply stayed, a quiet anchor against the tide of old. Memories, her foundation, had grown beyond what she once dreamed in those dark nights alone. Workshops now ran weekly in Surler and Ikea-crowded rooms filled with women of all ages, sharing stories over steaming cups of tea and plates of agage bread. Small grants had turned into microloans, helping participants start businesses selling Ankara fabrics, hair extensions, or homemade skincare from shea butter and essential oils. Group therapy circles met in rented community halls where women arrived broken eyes down. Voices small and left with plans, phone numbers exchanged, promises to call if the night felt too heavy. Hundreds had rebuilt. Some opened small shops in bustling markets. Others left toxic homes with savings and courage tucked into new handbags. A few even started foundations of their own. Emma no longer measured her worth by who stayed or left. She measured it by who she helped stand again, by the messages that arrived daily. "Because of you, I left him. Thank you." But the first date with Chidi had not been easy. She had almost canceled 3 times old fears, whispering that every man eventually chooses more. That trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. They met at a quiet cafe in Lecky, tucked away from the main road, where the rain tapped the windows like a soft drum and the smell of jollof rice filled the air. She told him everything. The betrayal that felt like a knife, the revenge she planned in silence while the city slept, the silence after victory that felt heavier than defeat. She waited for judgment, for him to pull away. Instead, he listened without flinching, without trying to fix her or offer quick comfort. When she finished, he took her hand across the table. "I don't need perfect," he said quietly, voice steady over the rain. "I just need real." She laughed real. Unforced laughter for the first time in too long. Not because the pain was gone, but because she finally believed she deserved someone who saw her strength and didn't try to compete with it. They talked until the cafe owner politely cleared his throat, then walked along the Lecky Beach promenade under streetlights, rain easing into a mist. For the first time in years, Emma didn't feel like she was walking on eggshells. Michael's life had shrunk to fit the man he was trying to become. The small office downtown smelled of instant coffee, old paper, and the faint diesel from the generator outside. He mentored young entrepreneurs, boys with big dreams and bigger egos, teaching them the cost of arrogance, chasing validation over integrity. One humid afternoon, a mentee confronted him. "You talk about honesty, but I read the headlines. You were the guy who left his wife for someone younger." The room went quiet. Michael didn't defend or deflect. He nodded slowly, eyes steady. And I lost everything because of it. My marriage, my self-respect, my children's trust. That's why I'm here, so you don't have to learn the hard way." The boy stayed. Others came. Slowly, word spread through WhatsApp groups and market conversations. The man who once flaunted wealth now gave time freely, no strings attached. His children visited more often. Aid and Zara no longer stood awkwardly in the doorway. They sat on the balcony, talked about school, laughed at old stories from when they were small. One evening, Aid said quietly, "You didn't fix it all, Dad, but you're trying." "That's enough for now," Michael cried again, not from shame this time, but from relief. The family was stitching itself back together, thread by thread, scar by scar. Zara started calling him Dad without hesitation. Aid brought friends over once, proud to show them my dad who helps people start businesses. Olivia's blog From Shadows to Light had crossed 200,000 followers. The posts were still raw therapy confessions, nights of panic. The moment she realized she hated herself more than Emma, hate comments came too. Trolls exposing her name, calling her a homewrecker, sending threats that made her hands shake as she read them. She almost deleted the blog one night, sitting in her room with the fan worry overhead. Instead, she wrote one more post. "I was the other woman. I hurt someone deeply. I can't erase that, but I can choose who I become now." Thousands messaged her. "Your words gave me courage to leave. I thought I was alone." She cried reading them, not from shame anymore, but from purpose. The woman who once stole security was now giving it back. One honest story at a time. She started hosting small virtual meets, her voice steady on screen. Helping others navigate the same darkness she had walked through, fate brought the three of them together one last time at a charity gala in Victoria Island. The ballroom smelled of jasmine, expensive perfume, and fresh-cut flowers. Emma arrived with Chidi, glowing in a simple emerald dress that caught the light. Michael stood near the bar, serving drinks as a volunteer, head down, sleeves rolled up. Olivia was there as a speaker, sharing her story from the stage voice, clear, eyes shining with the strength she had earned. Their eyes met across the room, not with anger, not with longing. Just recognition. They didn't speak long. Michael approached first, drink tray set aside. "I don't expect anything," he said softly. "I just wanted to say thank you. Both of you, for surviving me." Emma nodded, eyes soft but steady. "We all survived. And we all changed." Olivia joined them, heels clicking on the marble floor. Her voice trembled only a little. "I'm sorry, again, and thank you for showing me what grace looks like." No hugs, no tears this time. Just quiet nods, a shared understanding. We heard each other. We grew from it. And we're okay now. The moment passed like a breeze, simple, final. Freeing. Emma walked away with Chitty's hand in hers, the gala lights fading behind them. Michael returned to the bar, a small smile on his face, for the first time in years. Olivia stepped back onto the stage, stronger than when she started, ready to speak to the next room full of women who needed to hear they were not alone. As the year turned, Emma stood on her balcony once more, Lagos humming below her. The scars were still there, deep, visible, but they no longer bled. They had shaped her, taught her, reminded her she survived. She whispered to the night sky, "We all carry wounds, but wounds prove we lived. And sometimes they guide us back to who we were always meant to be." In that quiet truth, millions watching found their own hope, crying happy tears, healing, believing again. Because the story had never been just about betrayal. It was about what comes after. The brave, aching, beautiful road to becoming whole once more.